When you get started with self-publishing, there are a lot of choices you can make. One of them is, which platform should you be publishing your books on? And that's one of the reasons we're looking at Apple self-publishing today. This is Chris Baird from selfpublishingmadeeasynow.com, where self-publishing doesn't have to be so hard. So a couple questions come right up off the bat, and one of them would be, do I need a Mac to publish with Apple Books? And this is really a sticking point for a lot of authors, because we know on some of the platforms it really doesn't matter what type of machine you're using. You're going to be able to take your files and you're going to be able to put it onto the platform. But when it comes to Apple Books, you're going to need to have either a Mac, an iPhone, or an iPad in order to publish your book, which is really a downside for those of us who typically, I use PCs, but I of course have Apple devices, but I'm not going to do my publishing from an iPhone or an iPad because they're just a little bit too small. So I would definitely not recommend doing that, but doing it from a Mac definitely can work. And so in other words, using Apple Books can definitely be an option that's worth considering, and you use their Pages app in order to go about doing the publishing on the thing. But a big question is, why should you publish in the first place with Apple Books? And there's a number of good reasons to do it. One of them is the wide distribution. You have to keep in mind that Apple Books is available in 50 different countries and has millions of users worldwide. So by using this exact platform, you're able to reach those users. In addition, they're using Apple products. They're a little bit higher end and more expensive. They're more likely to purchase. This is also true when it comes to even buying apps in general. More money is made off of the Apple Store than is off of the Google Android store, even though more people own Androids than own iPhones. So the other reason to do it is because of the high royalties. With Apple Books, you have complete, and it's very competitive royalty rates at like as much as 70% for ebooks and audiobooks. This is compared to Amazon, which also does 70%, but then they're tighter control on the price range that you're allowed to sell the books, and you have no control when it comes to Audible with the audiobooks, which is a little bit of a downside when it comes on that front. The other is the control over pricing, as I was just mentioning, this ability to you decide which pricing model works for you, as opposed to if you're publishing with Kindle, they're pretty much deciding most of it, right? The other is they have a whole series of marketing tools. Apple Books, they provide a range of marketing tools such as pre-orders, free samples, promotion codes, a lot of these other things, which also you can in fact get off of some of the things that Amazon offers, but not quite as detailed and extensive as we see when it comes to Apple Books. There's a high quality user experience, and Apple's known for, of course, its high quality experience. So the app itself it flows, it's very easy to use. I personally use mostly just the Kindle app and apps that are associated with Amazon, but I have used for a number of books the Apple programs in order to read the books, listen to the books, and I can say it was a really positive experience that I had. The other thing is the integration with the Apple devices, and maybe that is really the key issue, the big advantage here. It's that Apple Books are integrated with other products like the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac, even including the Apple Watch. All of these things, because you can purchase them right from your devices, you can listen and read them right on your devices, so you can see there are a lot of advantages. But how exactly do we go about to publish your book on Apple Books? What do we need to do if we're going to put our books over there? Well, there's several steps. There's 6 key steps you're going to want to remember. The first step is you should create your iTunes Connect account. This is the starting point for everything. You're going to enter in your banking and tax information so they have everything they need. So when you earn those royalties, you're going to know exactly how to do it. You're going to upload your book as step 3. For step 4, you're going to enter your metadata into the book so they know exactly what is this book about, the description, the title, author, publisher, all of these things. You're going to enter it at that step 4. That moves us into step 5, where you're going to choose your categories, trying to find categories. And one key thing here is you want to make sure you stick with categories that are actually relevant. You can get in trouble on all of these platforms by choosing categories that are not relevant to your book. So just make sure you follow the rules and things will go just fine. And the 6th one is you can set up your territorial pricing. And as we already mentioned, there are major advantages when it comes to pricing on Apple. And you may choose for some regions to hold it a lower price based upon the population of that area so that it makes it more accessible. Or you may just choose to let it do automatic pricing, where you choose like in the United States and then it cascades down over the other regions. So a couple big ones. pros and cons of self-publishing on Apple Books. So the pros are you have a really wide reach, as we mentioned, with over 50 countries that we're reaching from Apple Books. This gives you a really global audience. The other is those high royalty rates. That's a huge one. But then the cons are we're limited to the tools of customization. In other words, we're limiting to the formatting tools that they have for their specific devices. And you're having to use, of course, a Mac to do the entire process, or an iPhone, or an iPad, of course. But if you're going to do it this route, you're limited to the devices that they themselves are saying, okay, only these devices will be able to produce and publish our books. So if that's going to be a challenge, then you might not. Now for me, that's definitely a challenge. I prefer the Amazon and the fact that I can use almost any tools to go about producing those books, but it's something that you as a self-publisher, as an author, are going to need to decide if it's right for you. So a couple other things. Apple Books review. Can it top major competitors? This is really a big one that a lot of people want to know about, like Apple Books versus Amazon Kindle Unlimited. Well, Kindle has just a bigger audience, and that's really where the thing hits. And the other thing is, if you do happen to have Apple devices, well, then it gives you a better experience, and you don't need these additional apps and things in order to get the books onto your device. So I would definitely say that perhaps Apple Books may be the right choice for you. I personally like the size of the audience on Amazon as my starting point, but if you're doing it through like Draft to Digital and these other sites, then you can get your books onto Apple Books as well. So this is a way to sort of, you get your book on the one, and then we can go through, we can publish wide by using some of the other platforms to ensure that we're going to reach as many of our audience as possible. The next one is Apple Books versus Barnes & Noble. Well, the problem I have with Barnes & Noble is the price is high, and we've even seen them kill some of the platforms they had with regards to like their audiobooks, because the sales, they were just not managing to compete. But on the other side of things, they both force their platforms. So you're going to have the DRM, digital rights management, in place. Both of these platforms, they're not going to let you transfer your books around, taking a look at a book in one of the other ones. No, you're going to be stuck to these specific platforms that they have. But what about Apple Books versus Audible? Well, Apple Books has one huge advantage, which is you have the e-reader and you have the audiobooks all in the same app. Whereas if you're doing Audible, you have to keep in mind you're going to have the Kindle app on your phone, and in addition have the Audible reader on your app on your iPhone or your Android devices in order to get the same experience. And if we want to buy new books, well, obviously Apple's going to be the winner on that. Oh, I get the audiobook, boop, and it comes right down to the same app that's playing both the audiobook and your e-reader book, which is a really huge advantage when it comes to Apple on that front. But what about Apple Books versus Kobo? Well, Kobo has one thing that I haven't mentioned here, which is it has an awful lot of coupons that give you the ability to market your books in ways that you may not be able to do on Apple. In addition, you can change your prices very easily on Kobo. So that gives you, well, actually it's Kobo themselves will actually change your prices. It was Apple that gives you the flexibility on the prices, but Kobo has been known to change prices, and that can be a bit of a challenge for many self-publishers who really want to have that control over exactly the pricing on their books as they go. The place that gives you the least control over pricing is going to be Audible. ACX, putting your books on there, you have almost no control. You have zero control over the pricing. You can only control whether or not you pay to have the books narrated, which gives you that 40% royalties off of all sales of your audiobooks. But let's hit a couple more things. Marketing tips to sell more on Apple Books. Here's a couple ways if you're already or you've decided you're going to go the Apple Books direction. One of them is try higher prices. So often we think that by lowering the prices that's going to draw people in. But the reality is we're going to need money to pay for the ads that we're running against the books. How are you supposed to do that unless you're earning enough per book to compensate for the ads? A lot of people have this idea that when somebody's going to get a book, they're going to get that book on the basis of whether or not the price is low. But in reality, that is not why people buy books. We buy books to be entertained, to solve our problems, all sorts of different reasons. Price is like number 7 on the list. So you really should not be paying attention. So you can raise the price quite a bit, and you'd be surprised to see that your sales continue to keep coming in. The next one is you can leverage the free first in series. This is something you're not able to do on Amazon, where you can make that first book be free, and once they've read it, then they want to continue on, but they're going to pay for those additional books. There can be too much of a risk associated with jumping in when on the first book if you have to pay for it. But if it's free, it can tempt you to start reading it, and if you like it, then get the other books in the series. And this can be done easily without any special tricks like we have to do on Amazon in order to trick it into letting us set a book for free, especially the first free first in the series. The next marketing tip is to publish exclusive mega box sets, which is really a powerful one, where you have these large sets you're able to put all of the books together. So that's a huge one. Another is leveraging pre-orders. Now you can do this on Amazon, but there are some advantages to doing it on Apple Books as well, so that we're able to get those sales coming in, which is telling Apple they should be pumping and pushing your book out to your target readers in advance. Another one is to sign up to Apple Books affiliate program. Amazon, of course, has its own affiliate program, but Apple Books is a fantastic way so that not only do you get paid if they click on a link and purchase your book, but also you get paid for anything else they're purchasing on Apple's site, which is a really powerful thing, especially when we're talking about people who already are using just the Apple device. So it's going to follow them around a bit as they're clicking and plinging as they're buying different items off of the Apple Store. Definitely worth considering. And the final one in this area is to send traffic through ads. And this is something I think it was only like 10 to 20% of people on Amazon even do, of the authors there, is using ads. If you want to ramp up your self-publishing business, you are absolutely going to need to run ads. It seems painful in the beginning, but that's one of the reasons why many people join my group coaching or my one-on-one program specifically, so we can talk through how easy it is to set these up. Because in reality, self-publishing doesn't have to be hard. Everything becomes easy if we break it down into simple steps, focusing on the most important things first, giving ourselves a long runway. Don't be thinking about, oh, I'm going to put out 50 books. No, we're not thinking about that. Rather, we're focusing on one step at a time as we're slowly moving through the process of learning this whole self-publishing thing. But in conclusion, I have a question for you. Have you tried Apple self-publishing? If you've tried it, let me know below in the comments with a yes. If you haven't, write me no. And let me know what exactly what would cause you to choose to publish on Apple Books as opposed to some of these other sites. And I'll see you in the next video above me here. Thanks.